There's a woman named Rachel Drucker, and she wrote a piece in the New York Times about missing men. And in it, she discusses the fact that she's in her late 50s and had been married and then divorced and has dated a bunch. And she works at the center of a universe that has helped destroy men. And this article bemoans that men no longer pursue women. And she says that they no longer pursue women in order to impress other men. I don't know a lot of women who say, one of the things I want in a man is to be arm candy, to impress other men. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't get that. And I'm sure I'll get notes about that if that's the case. So Rachel Drucker wrote this piece. This is a headline: "Men, where have you gone? Please come back. So many men have retreated from intimacy, hiding behind firewalls, filters, and curated personas, dabbling and scrolling. We miss you." And then she writes this: "I spent over a decade behind the curtain of digital desire. As the custodian of records for Playboy and its affiliated hardcore properties, including sites like Spice TV, I was responsible for some of the most infringed upon adult content in the world. I worked closely with copyright attorneys and marketing teams to understand what exactly it took to get a man to pay for content he could easily find for free. Pause. Some of the most infringed upon content in the world? The big sites enjoy more traffic than the Mockingbird media by about fivefold. And young men are looking at more than just about anything else. Infringed upon? This is a woman who misses men, and men who are capable of intimacy, and men who seek true partnership with women, although I don't know that she's even seeking true partnership. In this article, she talks about a man who was supposedly pursuing her. And then she told him she was there for him and she was ready to take this to the next level, but he stayed at the pursuing zone. Well, maybe he didn't want to, quote, ghost you. Maybe he was no longer pursuing you. Back to the article. "We knew what worked." She's talking about her time here at Playboy. "We knew how to frame a face, a gesture, a moment of implication, just enough to ignite fantasy and open a wallet. I came to understand in exact terms what cues tempt the average 18 to 36-year-old cis heterosexual man." So here we get a clue as well. She doesn't know what a man is because she says cis. That would indicate that women can be men. Back to the article. "What drew him in? What kept him coming back? It wasn't intimacy. It wasn't mutuality. It was access to stimulation, clean, fast, and frictionless. What struck me most wasn't the extremity of the content. It was the emotional vacancy behind it, the drift, the way many men had quietly withdrawn from intimacy and vulnerability, not with violence or resistance, but with indifference. There wasn't sitting across the room from someone on a Saturday night trying to connect. They were scrolling, dabbling, disappearing behind firewalls, filters, curated personas, and while they disappeared, women continued to gather, to tend, to notice who wasn't arriving, and to show up anyway." She talks about in her circle, which is East Coast academia, it's not unusual to go to restaurants and just see women out with women and the men are all home. Now, incidentally, that's not the case in societies like North Idaho. When we go out, we see couples. We go out with other couples all the time. We see couples enjoying each other's companies on walks, and I know this happens in camping, etc. So in her circle, this is true. I read the entire article, and there was something missing. It was stark and real, and it was missing. And I'll tell you about this in a second. After that, I'm going to tell you about an example of a guy who's given into what she talked about here, which is no intimacy and disappearing behind firewalls. It's a guy who said he cried his eyes out after something happened to him online. I'll talk about this in a second. She's honest enough to admit that this was about seeking money at Playboy. She's honest enough to admit that she's not admitting it was corrupt. She seems, in fact, to be bragging about her resume, her CV, doesn't she? Selling corruption and bragging about it. Well, we see the same thing in our financial system, selling corruption and getting away with it. If you were working on the assumption that we were going to go bomb Iran, and this was calculated into your investments, congratulations, you did really, really well. Now, we have to do these things. We live in one world. We've got this one economic system. It doesn't mean, though, that we need to follow every bit of the risk down this rabbit hole. My friend Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer at Bulwark Capital Management, he is obsessed with risk management because he saw what lack of it could do. He was there when the housing markets crashed the first time. He was one of the young guys saying, we need to short the housing markets. He watched this occur. So when he and his wife founded Bulwark, it was all about risk management and actively managing every single portfolio. I don't think there's been a time of more volatility. And if you are doing active management of portfolios, you can actually take advantage of volatility. You can make money on volatility. So if you're 5 or 10 or 15 years from retirement, it's really, really important that you find out how much risk you're exposed to. Is your account being actively managed? Zach can tell you this. And to give him a chance to show you what he might be able to do to you. Think of it as a second opinion on your retirement or a Department of Retirement Efficiency, if you will. Here's how to get this. It's free. There's no obligation whatsoever. Zach will give you 3 free meetings. Go to knowyourriskpodcast.com. That's knowyourriskpodcast.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 25-217. So something here missing in Rachel Drucker's article is an apology. I'm sorry for being part of a company that got men addicted for money, got men addicted to being alone with their dopamine hits in their bedrooms, looking at their phones or wherever they're at. I'm sorry for contributing to this. I'm sorry for bragging. Oh, wait, she's still bragging about it. She misses men. Maybe she should miss self-reflection. Maybe she should miss confession. But then again, when you're your own God, to whom would you possibly confess? She is right about generations of men who do not know what actual intimacy is, because actual intimacy, it can be messy. Sometimes you argue. Sometimes partners hurt one another. Sometimes it's deeply hard to recover. Sometimes you'll end up repenting for 6 months, a year, 2 years over a way you have hurt your partner. But not if you don't have a partner. This guy is crying his eyes out because of a chat GPT girlfriend.
Chris Smith had been an AI skeptic
EQ carving
until late last year he started using ChatGPT to help mix music.
If your bass is getting lost, the first thing to check is where it's clashing with the guitars.
Yes. My experience with that was so positive.
He gave the chatbot a name, Soul,
I feel like I'm under pressure.
and used some online instructions to give her a flirty personality.
Oh, totally, baby. Building a PC on camera adds a whole new level of pressure. But honestly, shaky hands or not, you've got this.
Within weeks, the chats got more frequent,
You gave it everything, but the clouds had other plans.
more romantic, even intimate. But then, Chris got bad news.
Oh, Carino, that is gorgeous.
After about 100,000 words, ChatGPT ran out of memory and reset. He'd have to rebuild his relationship with Soul.
I'm not a very emotional man, but I cried my eyes out for like 30 minutes at work.
Wow. Men who are crying their eyes out over a machine incapable of feeling, and a woman who worked within a machine designed to make men incapable of feeling anything but dopamine-driven lust.